Hey, what's up, y'all? And welcome back to another video. So I guess instead of me talking into the camera like I usually do, I think today I'm going to do a video where we're talking about how when you're doing things like resource filmmaking, or let's say you're just working with a relatively small budget, you just have to do a lot of planning. And planning is such a vague term. So in this case, I'm going to use the film Epoch, which is the film that I raised money for in Kickstarter, which is where a lot of you are from. I'm going to use my film currently as an example. And technically, these are not spoilers in a sense, but I guess I'm trying to give you the tools or kind of the methods in which I use to kind of help plan shots in order to make things a little easier. And also it'll help you kind of make your films, and whatever program that I'm using, I'll let you know because they're important. And I think they'll kind of help people have a better understanding of how to go about filmmaking and creating their own films and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's kind of just jump into it. Now, what is the purpose of planning? Let's just get that out the way. So you begin to plan things simply by accounting for what resources you have access to, like we discussed in the last video. When it comes to resource filmmaking, that's what we do. We discuss the resources. You figure out how you're going to use those resources to execute the plan that you have. So let's say if you have a camera, you have to figure out how that camera is going to move. You're going to do a lot of the pre-production. I'm not going to go into every waking detail of it, but essentially, you just have to come up with a plan, come up with the means in which to execute a lot of these things, and then go about executing it. So once you figure out like kind of what you want to do and how you want to go about things, in this part of the process, you have to be able to plan your shots. So in this case, I use a program called 3D Satellite, right? So this is a really, really good program. It only costs $169, and it's a perpetual license, and it gives you access. It gives you the ability to add, I think, approximately like 3 or 4 computers to your account under the $169, because obviously some people own multiple computers. Like, for example, I have an at-home computer that's pretty powerful. 3090, 16 cores, 64 gigs of RAM, all that stuff. But then, I have a laptop. I have a laptop as well. And then also sometimes when I'm out the country, I'm out the country with wifey or something like that, then I'll use her computer, and then I might have it on there. I'm just giving an example. So this is an amazing program because it lets you go into this 3D space, and then you can plan your shots in this 3D space. So that way you can basically have an idea of what the lighting is going to look like, essentially. And once you kind of do that, I think it's also still decent that you use a color calibrated monitor as much as possible for this program as well. It's not super important, I would say, but I think from my understanding, at least from what I'm seeing and me having this BenQ monitor, I think this program does essentially put the colors of these 3D images into a Rec 709 color space. But if you're not familiar with any of that stuff, don't worry about it. It's not that important. But it'll just help you plan out your shots. Kind of puts you in a 3D space. You can build out these sets with the stuff that they have, as well as be creative with some of the stuff that they have to make certain props that the program does not have. It is not a perfect program because, obviously light in 3D space is not going to behave exactly how light behaves in real life. But it's a cool tool that you can use just to help you kind of really understand how you want to approach the lighting, and then you can kind of set up quickly and then make the tweaks once you're set up to get the desired look that you're looking for. So that's one part of this problem, or one part of this equation that I would say that you can do in order to help, expedite or just help well optimize the time that you have on set when you have a smaller budget, or when you're doing something like a resource filmmaking project. But this is the part where I really want to get into, so I just wanted to give you like a foundation of it. This is the most important. When you're doing a short film, when you're doing your own projects, when you're doing films in general, you should be doing a lot of testing. So the camera I own it, so I'm pretty comfortable with it. This camera I've only had a little over a year in itself. So even then, even though I'm very comfortable with the camera now because I've used it plenty, but obviously I still like to test the camera. I still, not even just the camera itself, I still like to test it in terms of the context of the given scene that I might be shooting. So for the project we're doing, Epoch, I tested a couple shots. I tested you know, how would it look like once we do the time travel part? How would it look like, the distortion of light, as well as, you know, just an idea of what the effects would look like with this camera. Also, I did some test shots to see similar lighting setups, you know, on one of the scenes. It was just me and the camera, you know, in terms of like, it's just me in the room, but in reality, I'm just testing how I might want it to look. You know, just doing small tests like that can really help, especially in this film, even though it's not very visual effects heavy, at least not in the traditional sense. There is some visual effects. So it's not going to be like CGI visual effects, but basically just enhancing what's there, some compositing, and basically just, you know, kind of stacking a couple effects, and also going into, I was going to say Fairlight, which is the audio aspect of DaVinci, but in reality, I'm going to just do some video compositing and some cool effects that I'm going to be doing in DaVinci that you need to test. And these are some of the shots that I'm doing. So basically this first one, I'm just gonna go through order in terms of like simplest to the more complex ones. So this shot in particular is just me sitting here, and this is reflective of a scene that's gonna happen in the short film. I'm not gonna get into detail what it is because I don't want to spoil it, because I do want you guys to watch it and kind of still be surprised. But I have to test the lighting, see how the camera responds, see how it'll look based on the skin tone of the people involved. This is really important. And then this next shot here is me just figuring out what some of the visual effects aspect. This is one of the first testing I did for the visual effects, knowing that this was possible and something I can do. I don't usually do VFX very often, but I am capable of I know enough about, you know, the program where if you give me a step-by-step, I can do it pretty quickly. And relatively simple effects, you know, I have the patience for it. So I'd rather somebody else do it, but in reality, it works. This is simple enough that it's just included in the edit. And then in this last one here, this is a more recent test that I had to build out this glass pane here. Well, this is more like plastic, but you know, it's like a little case. And basically, I'm just using some of that light distortion, but then just kind of change the rate in which it's fluctuating, and just change a little bit of the wavelength of how like it's responding to the light and all that stuff. And then also in the composite mode, I might adjust it so that way it's a little bit more transparent. But basically doing stuff like this helps you test the things that you need to do in order for the film to be successful. Because now that I know this stuff is possible, then now all I have to focus on is like basically making sure my composition is correct, and also making sure that a lot of the lighting is pretty much correct as well. But like I discussed in the first part of this video, because of 3D satellite, I already have an idea of how I'm lighting the scenes, and I can kind of speed run a lot of this. And now I can focus more on communicating with the actors, getting the message that we need, and making sure we're hitting all the points, while focusing a little less on the technical aspects, because we've planned so heavily, and also developed a shot list and all that stuff. But also we'll do videos about that, you know, doing a shot list. Maybe I'll walk through the program with y'all in the future video, or how I approach it when I'm kind of doing pre-production. It'll also be a part of that. If you donated to the Kickstarter as well, this will all be a part of the fact that you'll get the BTS as well as kind of my process and how I do this stuff. And it'll be a video you can download, keep, reference over and over again, just to help, you know, kind of give you a starting point, so that way you can progress and do your own thing. So hopefully this video wasn't too long, under 10 minutes, which is great. And but this is just something simple. Practice your shots in your short film. Don't wait till the day of to shoot. Don't wait till the day before or the 2 days before to start planning. The second your idea comes in your head, start writing your script, start planning, and test out your shots both in lighting and in visual effects. And if your film has it, and your film is far more likely to be successful and closer to what you imagined when you conceptualize this idea. So appreciate y'all, love y'all, stay safe, subscribe to the channel, show some love, and I'll holla at y'all in the next video. Peace out.